Happy Wednesday. This is Mrs. Hunter,
And Mrs. Bergeson.
and we're not here today, but we are in the building. We need for you all to be very cooperative with the subs, and you know what to do. Just follow the regular procedures and be good boys and girls.
Make sure you picked up the notes for today, and before you leave class, glue them in your spiral.
Take out your homework and a checking pen. Colored pen or pencil. Put your pencils away while you're grading.
And before you leave class today, if you didn't do it before class, make sure you're checking your folder to get your graded assignments. Also, on last night's homework, if you didn't show proportions, you need to turn it in for a late grade. Go fill out a missing work report and sit in the hallway.
Be sure to put your papers in your binders neatly.
Okay, reminder, this video can be paused at any time so that you can catch up on grading. So start checking, make sure your pencil is put away. If you have any questions as you're grading, make a note on the homework or in your spiral, and you can ask us when we return.
Again, make sure those proportions are on your answers. No proportions, no credit. Make sure you have your labels on there. -2 points for no labels, -4 points for each problem.
Okay, calculate your grade, write it at the top. Each problem is worth 4 points. Make sure your name is on it and pass it forward.
Make sure your name is on it and the grade is on it before you pass it forward.
Okay, yesterday we talked about solving percent problems using a proportion. Today we're going to solve them using an equation. So on every single problem we do today, in our notes and on our homework, you have to have an equation. So Mrs. Hunter is going to talk about the keywords.
Same keywords from yesterday. We did it as a proportion, but again, you're going to need to do it as an equation. Is means equals, of means multiply. We've talked about this before, so this shouldn't be just something crazy out of nowhere. Replace the keywords with the appropriate math symbols to help form your equations. What does the is math symbol look like? Equal. What is the of? A little dot or parentheses. Right. No x's here, right? No x's. X's are variables. Important, you want to fill this in. If the percent is given in the problem, you must change it to a decimal before solving the problem.
And if the percent is what you're trying to find, or if it's missing, use the variable p to remind you to change your answer to a percent at the end. Okay, here's the first example. What number is 32% of 200? So the first thing you want to do is identify your keywords. So here's what I noticed. What number, we don't know what number, so we could use x there. Is means equals. 32%, you need to change to a decimal. Of means multiply, which don't use the x, use a dot. Multiply it by 200. So what number x is, I'm just rewriting, bringing down everything, keeping the order the same unless I need to do some rearranging for a coefficient. 32% as a decimal times 200. So on this problem, all you need to do is multiply 200 by 32 hundredths, which I know, let's see, 200 times 32 hundredths. And I need 2 places after move my decimal 2 places to the left, and so x would be 64.
Again, just like before, you always want to look for your solution and make sure that it makes sense. Going back to this last one, you know your answer is not going to be 6,400, right? So again, look for the reasonableness of your answer when you get done. Second one, 16 is 40% of what number? So we go through again, and we want to see the 16, the equal, the 40%. Don't forget to change your percent to a decimal. So we have the 0.40, the is becomes equal, the 16, the of what number? We can use n or x. In this case, we used n. So now we see the 16 equals 0.4n. No, it comes out. Divide by 0.4, and you get 40. So let's see, we do the 0.4 into the 16, move it over. over, add. 4 goes into 16 4 times, and we have a 0 there.
And the last example, $4 is what percent of $50? So going through to identify keywords, is means equals. What percent? Well, we don't know what percent, so I'm going to replace that with the variable p. So I remember to change it to a percent at the end. And then I'm of 50 or times 50. Now the order that I've just put this in is not the correct order. Remember, whenever you have a variable being multiplied by a number, that number is the coefficient, and coefficients need to be written out in the front. So it's coefficient followed by variable, so we need to switch the order there, and that's equal to $4. So your equation should be 4 equals 50p. And then to solve it, you divide both sides by 50. So I divided both sides by 50. And then I was left with p equals 4 over 50. Well, to make it a little bit easier, I noticed that I could multiply, since I'm looking for p, a percent, I could multiply my denominator by 2 to get a 100 in the denominator, because percent is out of 100. And then if I multiply the numerator by 2, that would be 8 out of 100. And 8 out of 100, I need to remember to change it to a percent, which I would say that's 8/100. 1, 2, move it to the right or read it, 8%. So number 3 would be 8%.
To add to that, make sure that when you get to this step and you're looking for the percent, always go back to and use your memorized conversions. Don't hesitate to do that. If you get something like p is 1/8, you know what that is. P is 1/6. You don't have to sit there and work it out. So your memorized conversions still come into play at this point.
And if you can't automatically see it, you know that you can always divide 4 by 50, and you would still get 8/100 as your answer, and then you would change it to a percent.
Or simplify the 4 times 50 as much as you can, 2/25, and then maybe you can see it at that point.
Okay, the substitute is going to pass out your homework. Remember, you have to have an equation written for every single problem. I will be looking for that, and Ms. Hunter will be looking for that tomorrow when we grade.
Okay, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye!
Bye-bye. Adios.